what games are you playing, and has it changed because of gaming the system? Have you had a similar experience, or are you playing less games? Are you playing different games, playing the same games? What do you think? So I'm going to go to Matt first.
So I was just writing down a quick list of all the games I've played in the last 6 months, because off the top of your head, you can only really think about the last few you played. But then I consume games at such a pace at the minute. I've been really getting right down to consuming every inch of every game that I've been going through, that really wanting to going through it with a fine-tooth comb, just digging it into the ground, because I think just the richness and the flavour that I want to get, specifically from story games, is just having a lovely, soothing, massive world to go through. I think nothing has convinced me to do any more online gaming. But I'm filled with more like excitement to try other games, and now having potential avenues to try, because it's very hard to get into playing Dungeons and Dragons if you don't know anyone else who plays Dungeons and Dragons, if you've never done it before. None of you play Warhammer, which is unfortunate. So I'll need to find a way in, another way in there. The best, probably the best game that I've played in the last 6 months. I don't know if it's just the last game that you played that makes you feel like this, but Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, the game that I put over the Fight With Me fighting the Guardian Ape on YouTube, that got a comment underneath it from someone saying "cool." I was very pleased with that, and it's just, I am in awe of it. I could do an entire hour talking about it, and I may do that on my own one day and just sit there with my phone and go, oh, this. But it's really gotten me back in love and prepared for Elden Ring. These really hard games. I've really rekindled that part of myself recently.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, but I've talked too much. But yeah, the difficulty of games is something that's becoming a problem for me again. Alex, how about you? Has it changed your relationship with games with doing this show?
Well, I think it has. It's really interesting, actually. It's the way I think about games. Like, it's not just consuming a game. Oh, was that a loud train? It's not just consuming a game and sitting and playing it. It's more about like thinking about how the game was built and developed, and like in terms of even just accessibility as an example, I'll look at the accessibility features and kind of rate it based on that a bit more. I'll think about what games would be good for streaming, which is a really fun thing to do. I'm finding now. I'll think about what games are doing things right, what games are doing things wrong, what can I bring up in conversation. It's just sparking all these questions in my head that obviously I'd never had before because I didn't have a podcast before. So it's always quite interesting to think about it in that way. And I'm definitely excited for all the upcoming games in the next sort of year or so, hopefully the next couple of years, to be able to talk about those from this perspective and just chat with you guys about them.
Yeah, I also like the fact we can just talk about how fun the games are. We don't have to go, well, what is the feminist perspective on everything? So sometimes it's just, it's cool actually you're fighting a giant ape. It's incredibly cool. Yeah. All right. Jem, I feel like you possibly have, I think you've implied that you've made more time for gaming over the last 6 months.
Yeah. For me, it's completely turned my relationship with gaming back on its head, really, and brought me back to gaming. And I think, I haven't talked a lot about the dark side of gaming, but for me, it did go to quite a dark place and is associated for me with a really, really difficult time in my life. And so I sort of found the whole gaming thing really kind of approach avoid, really. I loved it. I liked gaming, but associated it with negative stuff, and so it was quite challenging for me. And this has just given me an excuse to game for a different reason, for a positive reason, for research, but also it's, you know, like listening to you guys talking about the games and all the different things with such passion and enthusiasm has really made me want to try all of them. You know, I've gone out and I've tried basically most of the games that you not all the games that we've mentioned, obviously, but, you know, a game that each of you has mentioned, I've gone out and given it a go or got really enthusiastic about it. I would not have bought a PS5 if we hadn't been doing this. And, you know, it would have been, I mean, we bought a PS4 very late. And you know, we would have just waited until it had come down in price, if that was ever going to happen. And, you know, but we went out and got one. So that was, you know, that wouldn't have happened. And I wouldn't have, I just wouldn't have engaged with it in the same way. So I've really enjoyed it. And I think, you know, as we were talking about E3 and, you know, like you were saying, Caroline, that it gave you an excuse to go and watch all these videos and get really enthusiastic. And I did the same. And I would not have, as I said, you know, there was a time when I was excited about the idea that one day I was going to go to E3. And then years and years went by and I just didn't really engage with it. And so it was really nice to have an excuse to do that. And I think, instead of seeing gaming as something that you do when everything else is done, which never happens, I now see it as a way to explore my feminism, but also as a way to have downtime and to connect with other people, which I think for a long time I kind of had distanced myself from that. And I'm really excited to explore new games with my daughter as well. You know, like the conversations that we've been having here have made me think a lot about the sorts of games that she will enjoy and the sort of games that we will enjoy as a family. And it's just really opened it all up for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I loved, like, the other day when you messaged and said, you know, how do I make RimWorld better? Because it's a hard game, let's be fair. It's not like an easy straight in game. And rather than me, like, WhatsApping you a load of things, it was like, well, all right, let's play it together. Let's just
It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Such a good way to spend a Sunday. Just streaming. And, of course, as soon as we finished, like, streaming, I then was like, quite like this colony. I might have to carry on. So now I've got a RimWorld game going on as well.
Well, I should probably say that after we finished streaming, I carried on playing to the next day, and then everyone has died. So now I have to start again. It was very traumatic.
Sometimes everybody dies in RimWorld, and you've just got to move forward. You know, sometimes you get drunk and you buy 4 bears and you wake up the next day and you've got 53 bears and you're like, what am I going to do with all these bears?
Horny bears.
I'm finding at the moment, the only problem I am finding it, like, I remember Dara O'Brien years ago did a sketch about this, about the video games being about the only form of media where if you can't get past something, then you don't get to find out how the story ends, sort of thing, and that sort of difficulty thing. And I am having now had sort of 2 weeks of playing proper games again, games where I can't just rage quit when I lose. I am hitting the odd wall. So, like, I've got to a fight in Dragon Age where I'm like, this is a bit of a slog, and I keep losing it, and I have to keep reloading it. And Breath of the Wild, I'm on one of those bloody stealth missions where you have to creep past all the guards. And if you get caught, you go all the way back to the beginning and you have to creep past all the bloody guards again. Got to distract them with bananas. I'm having trouble with that. What happened? Final Fantasy. I was just like, whoa, this is intense. The opening of that Final Fantasy VII remake is just like, so you're breaking into some sort of power station or some sort of, I didn't quite follow it. And everything is blowing up. There's things attacking you from everywhere. After I finished that intro, I was like, I need to lie down now. So I do think there is a bit of possibly that I need to recover my. What's been lovely about doing this is I'm not quitting, because I know I have to tell you guys about me getting to the end of the game, and I know I'd have to admit that I quit